Welcome to today's 30-minute CPD on Level 1 in early years. In this session, we're going to look at why phonological awareness is important. We're going to look at what Level 1 Twinkl Phonics looks like. We're going to share with you some practical ways for you to use the Level 1 resources, and we're going to show you where to find those resources on the website. So first, let's have a look at what we mean when we talk about phonological awareness. Level 1 is based around the 7 key skills that learners need to have developed before we teach reading and writing. These are the 7 aspects of phonological awareness. When we talk about these, we mean the knowledge, skills, and understanding of sounds. The 7 aspects are listed here on the right of this slide. Sound discrimination is a key skill to develop. This means to identify and differentiate between different sounds. This might be understanding that a car horn is louder than a bird singing. So let's take a closer look at oral blending and segmenting now. Oral blending skills are paramount to developing efficient blending for reading. This is where learners develop the skill of hearing individual speech sounds and blending the sounds together to create a recognizable word, such as hearing the sounds a, and orally blending these together to know that it is the word cat. It is really important that oral blending skills are practiced frequently throughout the day. You could play a game with instructions that learners need to orally blend and follow. For example, you might say s, it. And once your learner has already orally blended that together, they will understand that they need to follow that instruction and sit down. Oral segmenting skills are important to be able to efficiently segment for spelling. This is where learners develop the skill of hearing a whole word and identifying the individual speech sounds within it, such as hearing the word cat and then being able to say out loud the individual sounds that you can hear. Like oral blending, it is really important that oral segmenting skills are practiced frequently throughout the day. During transition times, you could play a robot talk game. You say the whole word, and the learners have to say the sounds. So why is phonological awareness important? We have here 2 quotes which help us to reflect upon the importance of phonological awareness in building a strong foundation for literacy skills. Let's read these quotes. The first quote says, "Phonological awareness is critical for learning to read any alphabetic writing system, and research shows that difficulty with phoneme awareness and other phonological skills is a predictor of poor reading and spelling development." The second quote says, "Phonological awareness is the foundation for matching sounds to letters. The effective mapping of sounds to letters will be more straightforward if an individual has clear understanding and experience of the sound structure of the language." We're now going to look at building the foundations for literacy by looking at the building of a strong wall. The bottom layer of this wall represents what we do as practitioners on a day-to-day basis. For example, modelling language, repeating and extending language, listening to our learners and exposing them to new vocabulary. Then once you begin level 1, you will expose learners to the 7 aspects of phonological awareness. We can see here that this starts with general sound discrimination and body percussion, then moves on to learners thinking about the sounds around them through exploring voice sounds, rhythm, rhyme, and alliteration. Finally, learners are introduced to oral segmenting and blending as a precursor to the level 2 learning. When learners have a good understanding of Level 1 phonics, they will have great foundations for learning how to read and write proficiently. They will then begin to look at GPCs, blending for reading, segmenting for spelling, and recalling tricky words. So when we are teaching Level 1 phonics, we are teaching the foundations of phonics. It is vital that children have these experiences before we start to teach them graphemes and phonemes. And once learners have these solid foundations, we can build upon their skills and aim to produce proficient readers and spellers. Now, let's have a look at Level 1 Twinkl Phonics. Each aspect has its own character from Kit and Sam's toy box. We have Aspect 1, environmental sounds with Crash. Aspect 2, instrumental sounds with Ted. Aspect 3, percussion with Captain Stomp. Aspect 4, rhythm and rhyme with Hoppy Poppy. Aspect 5, alliteration with Dana Dinosaur. Aspect 6, voice sounds with Pam. And aspect 7, oral blending and segmenting with Robot Rick. Within Level 1, learners will develop skills in listening attentively, using a wide range of vocabulary, speaking confidently, discriminating different sounds, reproducing different sounds that they have heard, and orally blending and segmenting words. Level 1 provides everything that you need to ensure learners have a wide range of opportunities to develop their language, their listening, their understanding, and their communication skills. There are 36 weeks of activities organised in 6 themed blocks. Within these blocks, specific topics are introduced. For example, my family. The 7 aspects of early phonological awareness are taught throughout Level 1. Repetition is important in securing the learning, so games and activities are repeated to ensure these skills are developed. The complexity of the activities develops over the 36 weeks with a gradual progression. This ensures that learners are moving forward. At the beginning of Level 1, there is more emphasis on the first 3 aspects: environmental, instrumental, and body percussion. And towards the end, the focus shifts towards aspects 5 and 7, alliteration and blending and segmenting. You will find each weekly pack in one downloadable file. And here is what it looks like on the website. And then here is what your downloaded pack will look like. Within each weekly pack, you will find a weekly plan, which breaks the activities up by session, group size, aspect, and includes the learning objective for each activity. You will also find assessment sheets, a weekly assessment sheet, and a general observation sheet. And there are also editable versions available within the pack. And you will also have within your pack 5 small group and 5 large group activity cards, and any printable resources that are needed to run these sessions are also included. Each aspect has progression within it, and here is an example of this aspect for this progression for aspect 7, oral blending and segmenting with Robot Rick. First, learners will begin to identify the initial sounds of the words they hear and say. They will become aware that words can be broken down into phonemes, and they will begin to be able to choose the correct object and picture when hearing a word that has been broken down into phonemes. Next, learners will be able to say simple words after say simple words after hearing it broken down into phonemes. Learners join in with segmenting words into phonemes, but may not be able to do this independently yet. Finally, learners are able to segment CVC and VC words into phonemes. Learners start to blend the phonemes of longer words, and they can identify initial, medial, and final phonemes in a word. You can amend an activity's objective, if necessary, to match the developmental stage of your learner. Level 1 activities target pre-blending skills. These are crucial for reading success and can be seen in the blue boxes on the left-hand side of the slide. You can also see on this slide in the middle the 7 aspects of phonological awareness and how these fit in with pre-blending skills. These are the skills that struggling readers may need to revisit in order to be able to move forward. Phonemic awareness, the isolating of sounds in words, is key, as we said earlier. Learners may struggle with isolating these sounds within words, and if a learner cannot hear that sun and soon begin with the same sound, or are unable to orally blend the sounds s, n into the word sun, they may have great difficulty connecting sounds with their written symbols or blending sounds to make a word. Difficulty hearing or blending sounds impacts reading development, so it is important to adjust activities to focus on pre-blending skills for struggling learners. And you can see here a document that will help you with children who are finding blending challenging. And I'm now going to pass on to Faye for the next section of the CPD.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. So the next section, I'm going to be going through each of the aspects found within level 1 and sharing some of the activities and practical ways you can use them. So we're going to go through each one, starting with aspect 1 activities. So this is focusing on environmental sounds with TED here. So here are just a few examples of some activities you'll find within this aspect. So we've got sound walks or treasure hunts, sound bingo games, sound and picture matching activities and games, and then also comparing different sounds, as Sarah talked about earlier, so such as loud and quiet sounds. Then we've got aspect 2 activities. So this is focusing on instrumental sounds with TED. Here are just a few examples. So guess the instrument, playing instruments in different ways, and playing instruments along with a song. Moving on to aspect 3 activities. So this is focusing on body percussion with Captain Stomp. So we might see activities like tapping on different surfaces and materials to find out the different sounds they make. Joining in with different songs, including body percussion. So for example, if you're happy and you know it, pat a cake, head, shoulders, knees and toes, wind the bobbin up, and so on. And then we've got follow the leader activities as well. Then we've got here some aspect 4 activities. This one is focusing on rhythm and rhyme with Hoppy Poppy here. So we've got listening to and joining in with nursery rhymes. So we've got an example here of the Grand Old Duke of York. Silly soup activities. So everything in this silly soup has to rhyme. Pair games to match and rhyming pictures. Pair games to match the rhyming pictures or creating kind of rhyming strings. So here we've got pig and wig. And then an example of fill in the blanks with a rhyming word. So Hoppy Poppy has a cat on her lap, and they've matched that rhyming word. Then we move on to an example of an aspect 5 activity here in action. So this activity is focusing on the initial sounds with Dana dinosaurs. So aspect 5 is looking at alliteration. So we can see here from our activity card, our script here, the adult would follow this script, first reading the ebook of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And then learners need to select or group objects that have the same initial sounds. The adult would then say the names of the objects whilst emphasizing the initial sounds. So we've got b, ball, b, belt. And what we like about this activity is it just demonstrates the flexibility and the ways you can adapt the activities within level 1 to suit the needs of your learners. You may even want to choose a different story or context depending on your learners' interests. If you don't have these resources, you can use the picture cards that are included within the pack and print these off. So there's lots of different ways you could use this example activity. Or another idea, a nice one, is to turn this activity into maybe a safari and give them a pair of binoculars and they have to look around the space and collect objects with the same initial sounds as well. And just some further activities within aspect 5 could include, again, silly soup activities, but this time everything in the soup has to have the same initial sound. I Spy game, so I spy something beginning with S, or creating funny or nonsense names or sentences. This always goes down well. And I've got an example. We've got Hairy Harriet hopped over a huge hippo. That'd be quite fun. Right, then we've got aspect 6 activities. So this is focusing on voice sounds with Pam. So we could be having activities like mirror activities, looking getting the children to see how their mouth is formed when speaking and saying different sounds in different voices. Using character voices or sound effects in familiar or even new stories. And then always one of my favorites, silly voice register. Okay, so here we see an example of an aspect 7 activity card, again brought to life. We're going to see a video in a moment. So this will be focusing on oral blending and segmenting with robot Rick. So for this activity, learners will need to blend words together and they're orally sounded out by the practitioner in a fishing game. So I'm hoping you're going to be able to hear this as I play it.
Can you get the book? Book. Yeah, you got the book. Book. Can you find the ok? Ok. Ok. Yay!
Okay, so again, the theme of this activity could be changed, and if you don't have the fishing resources available, this could be adapted to maybe a run and retrieval type activity. So that is all the aspects, and looking at some different variety of activities that you'll find within each of them within our level 1 Twinkl Phonics. And as Sarah suggested, you can amend these activities and objectives by either simplifying or extending them if necessary for the developmental stage of each of your learners. Another resource that you may want your learners to be able to use is our Twinkl Phonics app. So you are now able to download the app to iOS devices and access all the amazing games and activities on the go. So the Twinkl Phonics app is full of engaging phonics activities for each level of Twinkl Phonics, so from levels 1 to 6, and it helps guide children towards reading fluency. So it can be used in school or can be used at home. You can issue parents and carers with individual learner login details to enable them to access the games and activities to support, practice and reinforce that phonics learning at home. So let's have a look at some of the games and activities that you'd find in the level 1 section of the Twinkl Phonics app. So the games and activities cover all 7 aspects of level 1 Twinkl Phonics. Here we can see this image that has just popped up is the home page where learners will select the aspect they are focusing on. It's important to note here that teachers can also change the settings of the Twinkl Phonics app for each learner login, and you can allow the learner to access all of the aspects and open them all up, or you can lock the content so that the learners have to work through each of the aspects and the activities to open up the next one. Within the aspects, they can select the activities as they work through. We've got a few examples here. So here is Crash's favourite sound. So this is focusing on aspect 1, environmental sounds. Learners will listen to sounds and decide where the sound might be coming from. We've got nursery rhymes focusing on aspect 4, rhythm and rhyme. Hoppy Poppy here will share familiar nursery rhymes where the children can join in too. And then another example here is pets at the vets. So focusing on aspect 7 with Robot Rick, oral blending and segmenting. They'll join Robot Rick, listening to him orally segment or robot talk animal names at the vets, and it encourages the learners to join in. And then in addition to what we've explored so far, level 1 has a wealth of supporting resources to further enhance and support your teaching and learning. So here are just a few to highlight. We will be going to the website in a moment, but I'll just show you a few of these. So classroom and display resources, posters, bunting resources, additional phonics games. Here we've got a stop and listen game to support those environmental sounds. Resources to support you and your learners in the accurate pronunciation of pure sounds. Here we've got the level 1 speech sound cards. These support you and also the learner in how to form your mouth when pronouncing sounds. We've got some additional interactive games available directly on our landing page. And then we do have Rhino readers. So there are level 1 books available through the Rhino readers reading scheme, fully align with the Twinkl Phonics programme to ensure that complete fidelity. So let's have a look at where we would find our level 1 Twinkl Phonics resources. So I'm going to pop over to our website. You can see that here. So on the Twinkl main page, and we're trying to find our Twinkl Phonics resources. The best thing to do is to start typing in phonics, and you'll see this colourful logo pop up. If you click on that, that's going to take you to our Twinkl Phonics homepage. Alternatively, you can type in www.twinkl.co.uk/phonics, and that will take you to the same place. Always good to bookmark this one if you're going to be using it regularly. So we're on our homepage. Everything here is Twinkl Phonics resources linked to our DFE validated program. So you know that you've got everything that you need to teach phonics in early years on this page. We avoid typing in the search bar and everything you'll need will be here. So it's split into 2 parts. We've got the weekly lesson packs ready to download is our first section. You can see we've got some tabs up here. We've filtered by level. So we're looking at level 1 today. And then we've got the weeks, which is in those 6-week themed blocks as well. So you can select the weeks you're working at. And you can see, as Sarah showed us earlier, you've got your weekly lesson pack that you download with all those resources that you're going to need for those activities. So that is the first section, and as we scroll down, we come to our next part of the landing page, which is the supporting resources. Again, we filter by level, we're looking at level 1, and then this time we've got a resource type filter down the left-hand side. Planning, assessment, classroom and display, seasonal. We've got some phonics games and interactive games here. If you do want to explore the Twinkl Phonics app, you can see there's a little button here you can have a look at, or you just type in Twinkl Phonics app into the search bar, and that will take you to information about the Twinkl Phonics app. And then if you're looking for Rhino readers, so looking at the level 1 Rhino readers, the best thing to do is to type Rhino readers in our search bar. If you just press enter, that will this time take you to the Rhino readers collection here. We scroll down a little bit and we've got our options. We're looking at the codable books for EYFS Key Stage 1. So open a new tab like this, and we can see all of our Rhino readers course scheme within this page. Again, we can filter by level, and then we've got our units here. And we can click through, and you need to press read book, and you can access the ebooks through there. Alternatively, you can purchase physical copies of the level 1 books through the Twinkl store. So that brings us to the end of our session today.